Welcome back everybody! A while back I recorded a video on my process of learning to rock out over the coping at the end of a mini ramp run. It was a lot of fun and I got a few requests to record a companion video doing the opposite procedure, which is to rock in over the coping to start a run. Now so far I've learnt a few different ways to start a run over and above the usual drop-in method. These include the rolling over the coping and also the ride on 50-50 grind and in. So the rocking over the coping seemed like a fun challenge and also seemed like it would suit a lower speed approach to that coping. I started by isolating the rock-in section. To do this I lined my board up with the coping, stepped on with my back facing the transition, and to initiate the pivot I placed a bit more weight on my back foot, looked around with my head and also tried to square my shoulders off so that my board sat on the coping. I found this pretty scary to commit to, and as soon as the bottom of my board hit the coping, my instinct was just to jump off. So after a few tries I found that bending my knees a little bit more helped, and also looking over the shoulder a little bit more positively got that pivot to happen. And then to bring her back in, I placed my front foot in that nose pocket and just unweighted my back foot as I went over the coping. I found I could get away with blue murder as long as I had all of my weight off of the back foot and a little bit more weight on the front foot. But with the pull coping especially, it was better to try and clear those back wheels completely on the way in, and that's the version that felt the best. The next stage was to roll up to the coping with a bit of speed and try and execute that rock in over the coping. My first goal was to try and clear those front wheels. I didn't want to roll over that big pull coping because that could cause a bit of a hang up over the front. So I rolled in with medium speed on a bit of an angle with that front foot in the front pocket, and I really aimed to do a little bit of a swivel and also clear those front wheels, with the main goal of getting the board to hit the coping like I did in my practice runs. Now this felt even more scary, but I found the more speed I went in with and the more commitment I did to get those front wheels over, the easier the whole thing worked. Again, unweighting the back foot was essential, and as I went over my goal was to clear the wheels over the coping to make for a nice smooth entry. But I did find that as long as I had my front foot in the nose pocket a little bit, and I fully unweighted that back foot, I could get away with hitting the coping with the wheels or the truck. Still managed to ride away, but it wasn't pretty and it was pretty scary. As a final challenge for this rock-in technique, I wanted to see if I could fly out over the coping on a sort of fakey bonk, land on the deck, and then pivot back in and clear those wheels. Now the thing I found the hardest here was trying to get that fakey bonk to happen off of the coping and then to come round 90 degrees so the wheels landed on the deck. And to do this, I just bent my knees, did that fakey bonk in the same way that I do for doing the fakey pop rock. But as the wheels started to get up in the air, I just put my shoulders round to the angle that I wanted the board to land in. And I found as soon as I squared my shoulders right round, that board would land on the top. I also found I needed to keep my weight a little bit inside the ramp because when I pivoted round, I wanted to be ready to come straight back in one fluid movement. To start with, I kept on coming up on the coping with the front truck hitting the coping. And this worked quite nicely because it stopped the board rolling. And the reason it came up in that sort of switch feeble position was because I wasn't rotating my shoulders right round and committing to that 90-degree pop. As soon as I got a feel for doing that little pop off of the coping, coming round 90 degrees and landing on top of the board, I found the second part fairly easy to execute because I'd already worked on that previously. I'm going to keep working on these. I found the pull coping a fun challenge, and I reckon it's probably one of the more challenging settings to try these. I think a bit of mellow steel coping would definitely be easier to work with to start with. This rocking over the coping has also given me the idea to try a sort of ride-on lipslide and in. So exactly the same method, only travelling at a lot more speed and in line with the coping before doing that pivot to get the board on the coping. And with that forward momentum, that should initiate the slide. And then it's a case of bringing her back in. Now I have spent a bit of time learning the nose pivot lip slide, so I'm used to sliding along the coping in that orientation, and I also know how it feels to bring it back in while sliding. So hopefully, if I can nail that first bit, those should come together and I'll make a future video on the ride-on lip slide entry. Okay, that's it for this video. In summary, I'd say this is pretty scary and it's probably mostly about commitment over skill. I think as long as the front foot is somewhere in that nose pocket and you use that technique of unweighting the back foot as the board rocks on the coping, it should come in. And I found that if I went at it with full commitment and a decent amount of speed, as long as I cleared those front wheels, the rest of the manoeuvre seemed to sort of take care of itself. With regards to that little pop out onto the deck version, I found those really fun to do, and the biggest challenge was trying to get that little bonk off of the coping pop round 90 degrees. I hadn't done that before, so just getting the feel of that was the biggest challenge. As soon as it landed stable, I found I could do the pivot, and the rest was exactly the same as what I'd practiced earlier. If you find yourself having a go at these, then please do share your progress in the comments below. Please also feel free to share any ideas you have for future trick videos. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe. I make new videos every week. You can also follow me on Instagram at John Bishop Skate. As ever, my name's been John Bishop and I'm a middle-aged guy learning how to skate.